People often act in a way that makes absolutely no sense with their money. They pour cash into the stock market like they're playing a casino game, hoping for a big win, while at the same time carrying credit card balances charging over 20% interest. That's basically like trying to fill a leaking bucket. No matter how much water you pour in, it keeps draining out from the bottom. I'm Duck of Wall Street, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about money, how to invest it wisely, how to build wealth efficiently, and why so many people approach personal finance in the completely wrong order. If you actually want to understand the logical sequence of building wealth, instead of just chasing whatever investment trend is popular this week, consider subscribing and leaving a like if this video helps you avoid costly financial mistakes. Here's a statistic that might surprise you. Recent data shows that roughly 1 out of every 3 Americans has no emergency savings at all. Even more shocking, the median emergency fund is only about $500. $500. For many people, that's not even enough to cover a single monthly car payment, and compared to last year, that number has actually gone down. Yet at the same time, many of these same people are asking whether they should invest in crypto or buy individual stocks. It's a bit like asking whether you should buy a Ferrari when your current car's engine is already falling apart. The reality is that there is a very specific order for managing and investing your money. Following the right sequence can save you tens of thousands of dollars over time and significantly speed up your journey toward financial independence. But most people ignore this order completely. Why? Because the early steps aren't exciting. They're not flashy. There's nothing thrilling about building financial foundations when everyone else is talking about the next hot investment opportunity. People want to skip straight to the fun part. In this video, I'm going to walk through the step-by-step order that makes the most financial sense when investing your money. If you follow this structure, you'll maximize long-term growth while reducing unnecessary risk. And some of these steps may surprise you, especially the idea that getting your employer's retirement match can be more important than almost anything else, and why health savings accounts might be one of the most underrated wealth-building tools available. But before we get into the steps themselves, it's important to understand why doing this in the wrong order can be so damaging. Imagine building a house. You wouldn't start by installing designer lighting fixtures or marble countertops if the foundation was unstable and the roof was leaking. Yet financially, that's exactly what many people do. They rush into buying trendy ETFs or speculative assets while still carrying high-interest debt that quietly destroys their progress. The cost of getting this wrong is enormous. Every month that you delay paying off credit card debt with a 22% interest rate is another month that debt grows faster than almost any realistic investment return. Every month you ignore an employer retirement match is essentially free money left unclaimed. And every time you invest in a taxable account while ignoring tax-advantaged options, you're voluntarily giving the government a larger share of your investment gains. So before investing even a single dollar, the first step should be building an emergency fund. Yes, it's not exciting. I know most people would rather hear about stocks that might explode in value, but an emergency fund does something incredibly important. It protects you from making desperate financial decisions when life inevitably throws you a problem. When your car breaks down or a surprise medical bill appears, having emergency savings means you don't need to sell investments during a market downturn or rely on expensive debt to cover the expense. The question most people ask is, how much should you save? The common advice is between 3 and 6 months of living expenses. While that's a useful guideline, the exact number depends on your situation. Someone with a stable job and strong benefits might be comfortable with 3 months of expenses saved. But if you're self-employed or work in a volatile industry, having closer to 6 months or even more can make sense. For many people, the best approach is to build the emergency fund gradually. Start with $1,000 as quickly as possible. That first milestone already covers many smaller emergencies. Then work toward 1 month of living expenses, followed by 3 months. Breaking the goal into smaller stages makes it far less overwhelming. Interestingly, research has shown that even modest emergency savings can dramatically improve financial well-being. A study from Vanguard found that individuals with at least $2,000 in emergency savings scored about 21% higher in financial well-being compared to those with none. $2,000 might not seem life-changing, but the psychological security it creates is extremely powerful. Once that safety cushion is in place, the next step becomes crucial: eliminating high-interest debt. Any debt charging around 8% interest or higher should generally be prioritized before investing further. Credit cards are the most obvious example. With average interest rates exceeding 22%, credit card debt grows incredibly fast. Carrying that kind of balance while trying to invest is like running a marathon while dragging a heavy backpack behind you. From a purely mathematical standpoint, paying off high-interest debt is equivalent to earning a guaranteed return equal to the interest rate, and a guaranteed 22% return is something the stock market simply cannot promise. For example, imagine carrying $5,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest. If you only make minimum payments, you could easily end up paying thousands of dollars in interest over time. That's money that could have been growing for you instead of working against you. A practical strategy for eliminating debt is simple. List all your debts along with their interest rates. Continue making minimum payments on all of them, but focus every extra dollar on the one with the highest interest rate first. This strategy is known as the debt avalanche method, and mathematically it minimizes the total interest you'll pay. Some people prefer paying off smaller balances first for motivation, but from a numbers perspective, the avalanche method is more efficient. However, there is one important exception to the rule about paying off debt before investing. If your employer offers matching contributions to a retirement plan, you should contribute enough to receive the full match. Why? Because employer matching is essentially free money. In many cases, companies will match a portion of your retirement contributions, sometimes dollar for dollar, up to a certain percentage of your salary. That can represent an immediate 50% to 100% return on your contribution, something no traditional investment can guarantee. So even if you still have some debt, claiming that match is often worth it. After securing the full match, you can direct additional money back toward eliminating high-interest debt until it's completely gone. Once those foundations are in place, emergency savings, debt control, and employer matching, you finally reach the stage where tax-efficient investing becomes the focus. And this is where most people start making major mistakes. Instead of maximizing tax-advantaged accounts, they jump straight into regular brokerage accounts because they seem more flexible. But retirement accounts like IRAs, HSAs, and employer plans offer powerful tax benefits that can dramatically increase long-term wealth. Ignoring those advantages is like voluntarily running a race with extra weight attached. When used properly, these accounts allow your investments to grow more efficiently for decades. And over time, that difference can add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the key lesson is simple. Building wealth isn't about finding the hottest stock or the newest investment trend. It's about following the right order. First, build your safety net. Then eliminate high-interest debt. Capture employer matching contributions. Maximize tax-advantaged accounts. And only after all of that should you focus heavily on taxable investments. It might not be the most exciting strategy, but if you follow it consistently, you'll likely end up in a much stronger financial position than the majority of people who are constantly chasing the next big thing. And your future self will be incredibly grateful that you focused on the fundamentals first.